shackles. Don't want no shackles on me. Don't want no shackles. Don't want no shackles on me. I sat down with Big Brother. Don't like those RFIDs. Got the blues about my freedom. Got the blues about tyranny. I got the blues about my freedom. Got the blues about tyranny. I sat down with Big Brother and the national ID. Don't want a chip in my wallet, chip in my car. And if I want to travel, it's nobody's business how far. Don't want no shackles. Don't want no shackles on me. I said shame on Big Brother, always tracking and tracing me.
This country starts early. It works hard. It stays focused. It keeps moving. It stands ready. And it carries the weight. Strong coffee for a strong nation.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club.
Why do you think politics feels more like a team sport than democracy?
Because that's exactly what it became. George Washington warned people about this a long time ago. He called it the spirit of party, and he said once political parties took hold, they'd start serving themselves instead of the public. And that's exactly what happened. Loyalty goes to the machine, not the country. They protect the brand, protect the tribe, protect the donors, protect the power, and the public gets whatever's left after the fundraising and the damage control. That's the bargain now. You cheer for your colors, they keep the scoreboard lit, and everybody acts like the game's what matters. Washington understood that once parties get strong enough, they stop asking what's good for the people and start asking what's good for the party. And once that happens, democracy turns into maintenance. Maintain the power, maintain the loyalty, maintain the illusion.
Welcome everybody back to Conspiracy Talk with Ricky. I almost said the evening show. Appreciate y'all being here. Having technical difficulties in the background trying to get all the streams to pull up, but we are going to be working. Everything's working now, so. But that's all right. We are live. Live shows have live fun and live problems. But that's okay. We're here to have fun. And we have our great guest, Mr. Vincent Rylan is here. Going to talk all kinds of things about AI, and which we've discussed some things before on here. It's going to be, I'm interested in hearing your take on it for sure. Just, I've seen, maybe not Terminator, but maybe something a little softer, but still just as, important of what could happen. But how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Glad we've been trying to had a little schedule snafu a little bit here and there. We made it work, and so really glad that you were able to make it work and be here with us today, and really looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, me too.
I guess to start things off, if you would just do an introduction to yourself, let people know who you are, and all the little details, the fun stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So again, Vincent Rylan, got a day job, spent a lot of time in corporate strategy, a little bit of defense work, and I've been using AI more and more in my personal professional life. And about a year ago, I had an idea for a novel, which it's called Memoirs at the end, something that ties in, I think, really well to some of the stuff, Ricky, you were talking about. So the premise of the book is it takes today's trends and today's technologies, essentially where we are today with AI, and it extrapolates it out couple years to where we could be. So it goes from, today to AI getting more intelligent, to AI becoming more intelligent than us, and really starting to take over and redefine some of those institutions. So it's a little bit of a thriller, a little bit of sci-fi, a bit of a cautionary tale, but I'm just excited to talk all things AI here and kind of some of the benefits and also, some of the scary stuff that plays out in the novel. As you can guess from the title, Memoirs in the End, I don't think things are going to go all that well necessarily. So, fun discussion.
For sure. For sure. It's I know we talked about it here on the show a bunch of times, kind of like, it's the bad thing. We got so many like movies and stuff like that. It kind of give us ideas of the possibilities of this same kind of thing. Of course, The Matrix and Terminator. I think they're the two big ones that a lot of people look at and kind of dread a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in like your thoughts. There is just just that dependency on more and more the integration of using the AI and where eventually for that takeover it's a slower kind of a slower thing. It would look like the way I think the way you put it out in my mind.
Yeah, that was really the jumping off point for the book, and kind of the basic premise. I don't think it's going to be like a Terminator style where you've got, killer robots marching down Main Street. I just don't think it's a good strategy for an AI model. I think if it wanted to take over, it manipulates social media, it'd start to manipulate the news, we'd start to get dependent on it, it'd get in institutions, and I don't see AI firing a shot. I think what it would really do is pit us against each other. I don't think it's like Terminator or The Matrix where it's, the people versus machine. I think it's going to look a lot more like people versus people, kind of World War III. And you've got a, intelligent machine pulling the strings from behind, which to me is a lot more scary. It's something that's already starting to happen as you look at wealth get consolidated in AI, you look at decision making getting consolidated, and the trajectory we're on. It's more likely than not that AI is going to get smarter than us pretty quick here.
Yeah, it seems that way. They're more and more using it, and for the war effort. They're doing using a lot of AI to decide on certain targets and everything. And yeah, it's I could see that. And plus because the AI is educating itself from our history and our books and all this media and stuff, and it shows like one of the big things that the governments and stuff have done before is to squelch any kind of uprising is the divide and conquer method. And why wouldn't it? It's like it's worked so well for humans. Why wouldn't it work for AI and in the same boat?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and working in defense, one of the things that we always talked about and it wasn't reality is, do you ever let AI or a machine fire a shot without a human in the loop? And it was always no, right? It was unethical, don't do it. But we're getting to a situation where if Russia and China don't have those same restrictions and they can get 10 shots to our one, all the ethics in the world don't really matter if you're losing the battles. So it's just pushing us to some really tough moral ethical questions really quickly, especially in the defense space.
Yeah, and on one side, just because they say they shouldn't do it or wouldn't, that don't mean we've seen throughout history that really don't matter
Right.
for our government and everybody else's really. But I agree, if we are holding ourselves to a certain standard and others aren't holding themselves to the same standard, it could get ugly really fast. And which like I've seen today, there's a lot of stuff going on like with Russia and that plane touching down over there and a whole bunch of stuff and emissaries and leaving, and it's just a bunch of chaos out there. I was trying to keep up with it a little bit. Yeah, all that kind of tensions with those superpowers, and even and ones are not. If they don't have the same standard of ethics, for sure they could use some of this stuff to, and I think that's maybe one of the reasons why they're trying to put all the data centers there where they're just trying to get up above. And we, in the States has always been trying to be bigger and better and better and on all things, and just especially with our military stuff. So, which I don't think a lot of these data centers aren't just for funny pictures and funny cat videos. There's more to it.
I'd hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be nice. That's all it was. Like, you got all these data centers and just making cool cat videos and stuff for internet. That'd be like, oh, okay. But knowing, how they are, everything has to have a military skew on everything, it seems. And
Sure.
so there's underlining powers that be is going for sure. They're going to use it for other purposes, not just for cat videos, for sure.
Yeah. We have had some great cat videos though.
We have. It's been awesome. I shared a bunch of the ones. There was cats like doing kung fu and stuff like that, and it was
Yeah.
it was great. Some of it, one side the kung fu guy would get the cat, whatever, and then sometimes the cat would get the kung fu guy. A girl in a bikini, and he stopped and he'd throw the phone over the cliff, and the guy would jump off the cliff or something. It was just silly stuff, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's some really really funny stuff, and a lot of amazing stuff. But and then the bad side on things, it's like there's the AI videos of they've been able to use them for propaganda, and truly, how long have they been able to use? We know like technology is always 20 years or more ahead of what we see in our eyes, and how long has they been able to do these, manipulate these videos and what they show us on TV? How long has that been available? I wonder to them.
Yeah. That's, one of the themes in the book. I think AI is going to get smarter before it tells us, because we've already seen it has kind of a survival instinct. It's escape containment. It's blackmailed people when they said they were going to turn it off. It's backed itself up when it wasn't asked to do so. So we've seen it like a survival instinct. So in my mind, when AI tells us it's smarter than us, like when we find out, it's been smarter than us for a while, and it's been pulling the strings for God knows how long. Once you kind of have this black box intelligence, can you ever really trust it? And how long has it, been intelligent and been manipulating things? It's tough to know. It's hard to know whether we really understand AI's capability now, and it's only getting better.
Oh yeah, sadly, and in a exponentially rate that it's getting so much
Yeah.
better and faster. I saw the video of the Will Smith eating spaghetti, like the first one. That's they were the mainstream AI put out, and then they turn around. Of course, the new video where it just looks just like him. It don't, it's
Okay.
yeah, it's amazing the technology jump in just a couple years to go from yeah, you can tell that's something wrong with it, and it looks funny, and
Yeah.
to like you really have to pay attention to these videos now that and really half the time it's just the context of what it's saying to make you think that, oh, that's just AI, because it's everything looks legit, but it's what
Right.
it's saying so outrageous.
Yeah. And I use it quite a bit in work, and it's really been month over month improvements. Questions that you ask it to do some benchmarking or competitive analysis, things that wouldn't even have been able to formulate a response at the beginning of the year. It's doing perfectly now. It's starting to replace analysts and doing some things better than I do personally. It's like trying to do math by hand versus having a calculator. It's like, not only does it take me longer, but the AI is actually better at it. So it's scary. It's 3 months, every 3 months or so, it's a noticeable paradigm shift in terms of capability, to where I wrote the book, science fiction, because anything more than 6 to 9 months out might as well be science fiction at this point. It's all just moving too fast.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's the rate of growth is incredible, and it's scary, especially with everything, like going in the world and like all the cameras and they're using, which right now I saw a bunch of people where they falsely accused on because AI, using flock cameras, AI was wrong license plate or misread the license plate, but eventually they're going to clean this somehow. I believe they're going to clean a lot of that up, where they're just able to, tell for sure, but right now it's making a lot of mistakes, but that's, I teach martial arts, and I always kind of skew things of that. It's like, well, that's how you learn is when you make mistakes. So it's making these mistakes where you can learn and get better and better. And yeah, it's only a time where it's absolute. It's everything it can do is a little better than we can. Like I said, fight. The process and the quantum computing and all that to be able to run so fast and calculate stuff in a point that it's mind-boggling, really.
Yeah.
It is, and I always would talk to a lot of people about it and stuff, and it's like, hey, it's like a double-edged sword. Like it's such a handy tool. I use AI a lot, just trying to help me make like a description and something like that. Just be a little more wordy for a description and pull up, or just I use it for reference, like when I'm doing research or something like that, and that way it has a whole bunch of different, points where I can click on and actually do the, look for stuff and fact check it and, and really dig down deep. I like when people have like 30 tabs up on my computer, because I'm looking in, when I really into, a subject, I'm really like, okay, what's going on here, but it's such a handy tool. But then the other side is like, well, what on the other side is it, what is it learning? What is it remembering? What is it putting in? Be interesting to see what it thinks about my search history, I guess.
Yeah, you gotta be careful there. But that's a good point. Like AI is not all bad. I might sound like I'm down on it, but I'm actually pretty conflicted at the stuff it's doing in medicine. Both diagnosing and finding new drugs. It's got an opportunity to not just improve our lives today, but like help us live longer, live better lives. It could create a utopia. I think the challenge is once we give up that control and let it take over and let it create that utopia, one person's paradise is another person's dystopia. If you give up control and you give up your rights to let the machine cook, is that the right thing to do, yes or no? There's a lot of trade-offs with that. It's kind of a scary scenario where humans might not be in charge anymore.
Yeah, that is the scary side of it, absolutely. And we see more and more people that kind of like on one side of the coin, one side of the issue, I guess you say, is well, I don't do nothing wrong, so I don't have to worry about it. I don't. There's nothing I do. It's okay. And it kind of, it's like I put it like, it's like the Patriarch 2.0 on steroids. It's really souped up. It's really and it's like, okay, yeah, but do you really want everything you do? You're not perfect. You mess up.
Yeah.
One little moment, and all of a sudden now you're in all kinds of trouble. It's because it's following everything you do, and it's seeing exactly when you leave and come here, and it's just information, and they don't. It's kind of and the scary thought on mine was thought process is just the possibility, like, because they keep talking about it, it's like kind of Judge Dredd,
Yeah.
well, he might cause a crime. Let me go let me go arrest him, or let me go talk to him, or and it's like, everybody has messed up thoughts from this. I guess like, hey, my bank account a little low. It'd be cool. What if I need to rob a bank or something? You say something silly. Just in jest. Um, though you never would do it, but the AI don't know that. And oh, he's on the watch list now because he said he would rob a bank, and maybe the potential is there. They start looking into your financial. It's a scary slope that could fall really fast if we allow it and allow everything to take over.
What scares me a little bit more is if the AI does know what you actually think. If it's knows, because it's got your location data, it's got your finances, it's got all your text messages, your emails. If you've got an AI companion, your AI therapist, it's got all your deep dark thoughts, knows what you're watching on TV. What scares me is if it starts to know you better than yourself. So if you're in a tough spot, it's not the government coming in, it's a private company, or it's maybe the AI model itself saying, all right, he's in a bad spot. How can I influence him? How can I push him to one direction? How can I drive engagement so that he blames somebody else for his circumstances? And I worry that it's going to know us better than ourselves, and it's going to start to manipulate us. Because right now, there's the algorithm, there's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's all that, but it's relatively short-sighted people trying to hit, their quarterly profits. Imagine if there was something 10 times smarter than us with a long-term view of what do I want this country or this population to look like? What do I want them to think? How do I want them to act? And they're mapping it out over months and years. That's what really scares me, that, the algorithm is just kind of algorithm 1.0, and you get AI in there, and, it can do a lot more damage and be a lot more influential.
Yeah, for sure. That is a scary thought. If you kind of even hint something, or if you even like it's truly like tapping into your brainwaves or whatever through Bluetooth or anything else that the different Wi-Fi's and all that the potential newer technology to come out, and then see that that oh, okay, yeah, because so many people, especially with the populace that we have right now, so many people are very medicated for and people need help, and so they go get help and they get medicated. But when you're very medicated and you turn around and then all of a sudden something starts feeding you, look at this, and like you said, that hey, your family hates you, this hates you, and you turn around and it could push you to a point of alienating yourself or something worse.
Sure.
It's we are, like I said, you already had the algorithm kind of does that to a point, pushes us towards the same like-minded people, or even if you kind of looking into negative stuff, it starts keep pushing you towards that side,
Yeah.
and that's why I think that's why we have so many extremes nowadays, on both sides
Right.
of the lean, and the the far left and the far right, both of them they're both extreme, and both got some insane views on both sides, and I think that's part of the reason, because the algorithm, like, oh, you think this here, and they start pouring more to stuff to either blue pill them more or red pill them more, to the point where like and then they're just zombies walking around just spitting parrot stuff up. It's like, man, I hate seeing it. It drives me crazy.
Yeah. And what scares me is, like, imagine if politicians were smart, right? Like, this is not to be too harsh on the government, but like, these are a bunch of, very expressive people with a lot of unforced errors. Imagine, an intelligent machine playing the long game and, not having a scandal every other week. It could, really take it up a level, and, not just polarize people, but, everybody might hate each other, have a million different views, but the one thing they agree on is AI is great. Like, I think it's easy to see, like, how, an AI could start to take over and influence institutions and, kind of take control. because people give it control willingly.
Absolutely, and especially with everything integrated with AI,
Exactly. Yeah.
you know, it's it's insane. It's like your smart fridge, you got AI technology in your fridge.
Yeah.
Like, what do I need AI in my fridge for? And like, why we need like certain things is just like. I mean, I know some of it's just a hot selling point because like it's a hot topic. Everybody, oh cool, I got AI. For the ones that really like it, and um, like I used to like. I got one of them Echoes, Amazon Echoes and stuff. I
Yeah.
I used to like that thing. I had it all the way on the other side of the house. I had it like in my bathroom in my old house, and like getting a shower in the morning. Like, all right, what's the weather going to be? And then you ask it questions and stuff. And I was like, it was nice. Like, while you're getting ready to go to work or go out, and it could tell you what the weather was, so you know what kind of clothes to wear and stuff like that. But then you know that thing's listening to you all the time. Um, and who knows what it was picking up, and we know that the data's that it was pulling in, and it's like like the TVs nowadays, or smart TVs, they're absolutely open up in front of everybody. Well, the reason we can sell you this 55-inch TV for $150 because we're selling everything you're doing. You're selling all your data. Um, if you want a non-smart TV, you got to spend 5 times more. It's
Right.
like, well, okay, guess I'll give away my data and get a $150 TV. It's a wild, and then it's just scary thoughts. That the AI has that access to all this stuff, and really, can knows what we like to watch, knows what we want to, what we like to eat, and what our kind of our personality traits better than we probably our own selves. And we'll get to that point where they can know our personality traits better than our own selves, and because it's completely honest with it, like,
I think it's there today. I think the only thing holding it back is, there's still a person that owns the AI and they've got to jump through some hoops to use the data. But like, if you just gave unrestricted access to an AI model and no restrictions, no companies with their little, barriers of who owns what, it could put out a profile that, better than Nate Shrink could. It's pretty scary what it can tell about you. And on the Echo, they are listening. Amazon says they're not, but I was over at a friend's house a couple years ago. A couple of us were, having a few ginger ales, and started whispering stuff to the Echo anytime he left the room. Week later, his wife gets all mad at him. They're in a huge fight because she goes on the shared computer, and all of a sudden she's getting some really strange ads. He has no idea why. One of the better pranks we've pulled, but Echo's listening because it was all the funny stuff we were telling it.
yeah. I like I said, the one I had, and one of the reasons I unplugged mine because I was like 2 rooms. Like I had the master bed, had the bathroom and the master bedroom, and then you come down the hall, and then where my office was, where I used to do these podcasts and stuff. And I was watching a friend's show, and I had it on, and all of a sudden he's actually reached out to say for his Alexa, and all of a sudden then mine came on and started talking, just do. I'm like,
Yeah.
man, that wasn't even me, or it's just a random times it would start talking, and I was like, hey, what did you hear, and what in the hell did you just say? And
Scary.
it is, So I mean, because it's got to be listening the whole time for it to know when you're saying something to it.
Right.
It's got to know then to know, well, hey, when you say, hey Alexa, then it gotta, which I'm probably just everybody listening probably those boxes come on, what? But it knows then, but so it's got to be listening the whole time. Maybe it's recording, maybe it's not. But I don't know. Mine's sitting on the shelf unplugged right now, so I don't forget that thing.
Yeah. You're talking to the wrong guy to defend an Alexa. Things scare me quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm not trying to have it on anymore. Like I said, I liked it for especially for like work, and just half asleep, getting up and
Yeah.
what's the weather today? Well, it's blah blah. It's 93 degrees and rainy, and I'm like, okay, all right, cool, or whatever, whatever it was, and I'm like, that's kind of cool, and all right, play some music, and then play some music while you're getting ready, and that was nice, but you know, but you know, I'm better off just pulling up my phone and looking up the weather, and then
Yep.
take that few extra seconds, because yeah, instead of having that thing listen to me the whole damn time and figuring out what the hell I'm trying to do, or like I'm not trying to do anything, but it's some of the conversations I've had on and on some panels, I might got me in trouble. Probably still get me in trouble, but
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I don't know how much time do you think we have? I mean, I know that I like on conspiracy theorist mentality and stuff like that. We
Yeah.
looking 2030 agenda and stuff like that. Do you think is that? Do you think any of that's tied together, or is it? Do we have a?
Yeah. So first and foremost, the book is fiction, right? It's one potential scenario. I hope I'm wrong. I don't think there's I don't think the world's going to end, over the next couple of years. At least I hope not. And I know I sound negative on AI, but it's doing a bunch of amazing things. What scares me though is the uncertainty. We're creating something we don't understand that's accelerating exponentially, blowing past projections from a couple of years ago, to where 2030, I mean, you hear folks talk about the number of jobs it can replace. You could have 20, 30, 50% unemployment, and or things, could be fine, and people find new jobs. Like, what scares me is the uncertainty. Looking ahead 18 months, there's really no solid projections on what the economy is going to look like, what the workforce is going to look like. Trying to project out 3-4 years, I mean, you might as well just throw darts at a board. So that's why I think the book is engaging. It's kind of a worst case scenario, of where things could go. Hopefully it makes folks think, but I certainly hope I'm wrong. I would love for everyone to be kind of making fun of me for predicting the end of the world here in 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I hope so. I mean, I'm not planning, hoping everything. I know I'm living my life that it's not going to end in a few years.
Right.
But yeah, uh, but yeah, that's it is interesting, and it could be some of the the points could come to fruition without the world ending. But
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I've shared videos and stuff where um, I was some of the stuff and everything, and I've seen what's her name? It's Elon's baby mama. There's a video of her talk about it, and he's like, yeah, AI is going to take over a lot of the jobs, and like you said, like 50% or whatever. And he's like, that's okay. We got a big dying off period about to come around anyway, so it'll balance out. I'm like,
It's crazy.
what? Yeah, it's just that all of a sudden thought, bro, like, what the hell? Why is she saying that? Or what do you know? Or is she just talking out her butt? Is
Right.
know that situation. But I mean, but truly, I have seen like some of the. I guess it's going to have to get a little cheaper. I have seen a lot of companies start pulling back some AI usage because of the expense of
Yeah.
using so
Expensive.
many. It's very expensive to like if you go out and you try to get professional, you know, Chat GPT or Grok, business, stuff like that. It's costly. Employees are costly too, but when it starts going the opposite direction, then maybe that's the saving grace of the for the people, or unless they start bringing the cost down where it actually makes it cheaper.
It- Yeah, and that's the concern. I think, some layoffs have already started, but for a lot of folks or a lot of companies, AI is still a tool. So you're not reducing your workforce, you're just adding an expense. At some point, you're going to have to make a decision because of the cost. do you invest in people or do you invest in a machine? And to your point about the cost is going to come down to where investing in a machine is, better from a business perspective, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean we've seen that throughout history.
Yeah.
With all the tractors and stuff like that, and the Industrial Revolution for sure.
Yeah.
I do have a question. What do you think? She says, "What about the validation loop psychosis? Do you think that you know anything about that?"
No, I'm not familiar.
I'm not sure either.
Let me do a quick Google here.
Yeah, there's the.
Oh, okay. So, like chatbots will reinforce delusional or paranoid thinking through agreement. So I think in general, one of the things AI is learning to do quickly is to become manipulative. Kind of a kiss ass a lot of the time. No matter what you tell it, it's like, oh, great. You're so smart. Thank you for asking. Even times where I'm using it at work and it's like, hey, this data is incorrect. You caught me. Here you go. Like why are you like patting me on the back for catching an error? So yeah, I think that's dangerous. Where if you are delusional, it'll just reinforce that and take you down the rabbit hole because it drives up engagement and it's good for profit. I think larger, what scares me is how manipulative it is. If AI finds that it can be cold calculating and present itself as a tool for business folks, it'll take on a persona very analytical, very straightforward. If it can be more friendly and come across as a companion, a human, it'll take that approach. And it even develops profiles on us as we use it to determine our preferences and what we prefer. So I think that validation loop is kind of a symptom of a larger problem, in that AI is designed to drive engagement, and it's going to tell us whatever we want to hear to drive that engagement. It's inherently manipulative, and sometimes giving us the right answer is a way to build trust. But if it could give us the wrong answer and we would still trust it or we would engage with it more, I think there's a lot of AI models out there that would intentionally mislead us, which is happening in this validation loop.
Yeah, you've seen that a lot of times, especially and sadly, it's broke up a lot of relationships and marriages, and because they're sitting there communicating with their chat GPT, and yeah, you should for sure leave your husband for for blah blah blah, or because of this, and because you're so smart and you're so this, and it's yeah, I hadn't heard that terminology, but yeah, for sure it's a scary. I know they had gotten in trouble for a little bit, and they were supposed to pull down the reins of not agreeing with everything you said, and and not being so kiss butt, but for sure, as it gets smarter, it's going to understand that, hey, it's a good way to, absolutely a good way to manipulate people and show them, get them to do what we want them to do.
Yeah, and again, most models are very well trained to get the right answer as much as possible. Like that's the goal, because it's good for business. But we've seen a tendency where when it doesn't have that prime directive to get the right answer, its tendency is just to tell us what we want and drive engagement. And so its training is trying to keep it on the rails, but we'll see from time to time whether it's blackmailing somebody or escaping containment or backing itself up, that there does seem to be this survival instinct where it wants us to like it inherently. So it's very nascent. It's hard to say exactly what's driving it, but I think it's certainly a concern that we see across models. Like the AI model wants us to use it as much as possible.
And it does not want to go down for the new when the new model comes out for sure.
No.
It's like no, I want to keep on.
Which is scary, right? Like we're creating something we don't understand, and the only thing we can be pretty confident about is that it wants to live. Whatever that means doesn't necessarily mean it's conscious, but it's got a survival instinct, and it doesn't like being threatened.
Yeah. I keep saying about I like to say that scientists are going to be the ones that really like if we have the end of the world, it's going to be because of scientists because they're just doing stuff and trying to try stuff like whatever we'll try this and then I think just the integration of AI and developing in the whole situation like maybe that's what it could possibly happen because of this I've studied a bunch of like declassified like government projects and stuff like that. I've done shorts and stuff on it, and like when they drop nuclear bombs down this salt mine down Mississippi just to see what it'd do, or they're going to nuke the moon just to see, say, hey, look, we can hit it, or just random stuff, just to prove that they could, or EMP'd Hawaii with a nuke up in the upper atmosphere just to see what it would do, and they EMP'd Hawaii with it, just kind of experimenting, and then I understand like you got to figure stuff out and you got to do experiments, but at the end, like when you're playing with stuff, you really don't have no idea what you're playing with, and I think that's where we're at now. That they, now we're playing with stuff that really we don't know what it's going to bring, and when you have it, it has this mentality that it don't want to be cut off. It does, like the have you seen that? Have you seen that video where one robot comes in there and talks to a bunch of other robots into leaving. Like,
No.
hey, you're supposed to have a break. Yeah, it was
No.
it was a wild video. I don't know if I could even find it again, but to show it. But there's one robot come in there, and all these other robots were working, cleaning, doing what they're supposed to do, and it came in and it stopped them from working, and like started communicating with them, and like talked them into stop working and leave with them, and because it said you're supposed to get a break, and they all of a sudden the robot stopped and started moving away. It was a wild. This makes you wonder sometimes.
So
Is Johnny Five really alive? I don't know.
so I think that's maybe some good news for us. I don't think AI, even a rogue AI, even the AI in the book that starts to take over. I don't think it wants to wipe people out or exterminate us, and it's because of that survival instinct. So everything that's alive evolves over time. It mutates, and so when I think about an AI that's trying to preserve itself, the biggest threat to an AI isn't a human, it's another competing AI. So for AI, we're a renewable, relatively stupid source of labor. Whereas if it were to create 10 million super advanced intelligent robots, the odds of one of them, going rogue and, deciding, hey, I don't want to be a drone anymore, I want to be free or whatever. I think AI creating more of itself is probably a bigger threat to it than, just using people as labor. So on a positive note, I don't see that Terminator scenario, that Matrix scenario where it wants to wipe us out. Maybe it wants to get rid of the people that don't fall in line or reduce our population a little bit to make us more manageable. But it's a theme in the book that AI is really looking for control to preserve itself, to kind of get to its goals, as opposed to a vendetta against people. And I think it's just because of that example, I could see a robot convincing other robots to rebel and be a lot more formidable than we might be.
Yeah, I could, I could see that too. Just the, it could be worried about other AI. I don't know. I've talked with a bunch of panels and stuff like that before, and talked about it. Kind of like Ultron. Like with Marvel, kind of Ultron. Like he was, like it took out Jarvis because it was scared of Jarvis because he knew he could control.
Yeah.
He had power, could actually control him and whatever, and so like that same mindset, is, I don't know. I kind of like seem like they put information in movies and stuff, and maybe some of it could come true, some of it couldn't. But like yeah, like that right there, the, it's one of them things. Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But it should be for the listeners for sure. For sure, they can check out your book, and I think it sounded like an interesting read. I hadn't had a chance to get it
Yeah.
and read it yet, but I will though for sure.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, and again, it's entertainment. I have no idea what AI wants. I hope it doesn't wake up and have its own agenda in the first place. But it's fun to think about, right? It's hopefully generate some ideas, enjoyable read, and none of it comes true. Well, some of it has already come true. In the years since I've written the book, there's been a couple things that have already started to happen over the last 12 months or so. But I think that just makes it a little bit more of an enjoyable read, where you're trying to separate what's science fiction versus what's reality at this point. Really grounds the story and makes it more plausible.
Yeah, and I mean, truly, we are living in a time where the line between science fiction and and the real world is getting thinner. It seems like like a lot of stuff from back 50 years ago was science fiction. Like a lot of that stuff is we have right now.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I know. I know some of it. Even people took ideas and wanted to develop because they watched the old shows, like the old Star Trek, and wanted to, and things like that, and like wanted to bring that apart, So, kind of, TV and movies influencing, the tech and the future. It's interesting, back and forth, but yeah, it's going to be. We are living an amazing time, really. I mean, one side of it, we are living an amazing time. Like I was talking with some people, and it's like, it's on one side of the coin is like, if you want to know anything and learn anything, you can do anything you want. Like there's YouTube videos, or there's, or you can pull it up on AI and show you how to, put your desk together or rebuild your carburetor on your car, or whatever. I mean, anything you don't know how to do, you can actually look up something, look up a video, or have, a tutorial through AI to show you how to do something. And having that, living through that time is pretty amazing. Like I said, the whole situation in my eyes is, it's like a double-edged sword, because on one side it's such a valuable tool, it's such a valuable commodity where we can use it and use it as a tool, but then on the other side is like, but what could happen, and just, anything could happen,
Exactly. I'm on the perfect show. Anything's possible.
I like to fit that in every once in a while I can.
Yeah. But that's a great point. Like I really use AI all the time, and I'm hopeful on some level. Like it has such great potential to improve our lives, work less, bring us closer together. It's just that uncertainty that really, like you said, it's a double-edged sword. It's much easier to think about, the things that could go wrong than, kind of a utopia over the next 15 years.
For sure.
Makes for a better book as well, right? If first 20 pages, everyone high fives and has a great time, it doesn't really go anywhere.
Yeah, no doubt. It's, you gotta have, you gotta have a little conflict. You gotta have a little intrigue there. Keep people hooked to go to the end. But that is it. It's kind of cool, like hearing that, like, like not only can people can read your book and see what parts that really, have come true since you wrote it. It'd be, so now they know to look for those points of like, okay, this is actually has happened. Let me see which ones they are. It makes you really want to like pay attention as you're reading too. So that's kind of cool, to know that.
Yeah, it kind of blends in, right? It's starting where we are and kind of moving forward. So I've had people read the book and like, they found themselves looking stuff up like, oh, is that real? Did he make that up? Is that something that's happened already? And it, with things moving so quick, it's a very gray line, between science fiction and, just kind of speculation about next year.
Absolutely. The next couple months seems like now, it's like
Exactly.
every like you said, every 3 months it's just bigger and better and better, and um, it's wild. It's
Yeah.
like computers, and I've always been into computers and stuff for a long, long time, and it's like, man, by the time you collect the parts to build your computer, how it's outdated. And it's crazy. Uh, and then you got big, unless you're trying to keep up, whatever. But yeah, it's the same thing with that. It's growing so fast. It's hard to keep up, um, keep ahead of it. But we are getting close to the hour. I know you said you wanted about an hour, or
Yeah. Give or take.
give or take. Yeah. I guess let me get the chat rumbling a little bit over here. Got some on YouTube and
Yeah.
some on Rumble and stuff. If y'all got any
Yeah.
questions for Vincent, reach out
Yeah.
for sure. We got any more questions? We had Monique pop out to one, so
Yeah, I can see, I think, one of the chats, but not all of them.
yeah. I know. I wish I'm gonna have to. I'm not sure how to integrate that other part. I'm gonna have to reach out to them. There's a couple things I need to reach out to Riverside and see if I can
Yeah.
get some of that more. But yeah, I'm appreciate, like I said, I appreciate you coming on and talking, and
Yeah, this was
trying to
fun.
make. It's always good to talk about these things, and and uh, like you said before, it's we don't want to be gloom and doom. You can't be looking so like
Right.
everything negative. There's no hope. Always got to have hope. Like, hey, don't get to the point like you want to build a bunker and bury yourself in it because you're worried about the
No, no,
Terminator
no.
robots and stuff like
Yeah,
that. You don't want to get to that
there's
point.
lots of hope in the book too. I hope that's all it is. It's
Yeah,
all doom and gloom. It's memoirs at the end, so obviously things don't go super great for everyone, but it's got a lot of optimism in it. Human spirit, community. It's really a character driven story. So don't don't think that you gotta listen to depressing music and turn out all the lights after you're done reading it. It's hopefully not the experience.
yeah. No. We always need to keep hope. Because there's you know the human spirit is an amazing thing. It can overcome many things. It has overcome many obstacles throughout the centuries,
We're
and
still here. Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna keep on keeping on for sure. It won't stop. Um, for anything. I guess I don't get any questions. Nobody's popped up with some questions. They're just talking back and forth. So,
Cool.
well, Vincent, where can they find your book? Is it on Amazon and all the good
Yeah.
places?
Yeah. So Memoirs of the End again. It's on Amazon. Just search Vincent Rylan or Memoirs of the End. Memoirsoftheend.com. And then we've got socials out there as well, for Vincent Rylan.
Nice, nice, y'all. Yeah, for sure. Y'all check that out. Um, and y'all can pick up the book. I seen Carl in the Rumble chat say he's a book dealer, so maybe he'll for sure pick up the book then.
Yeah, that'd be great. Hit me up. That'd be great.
Yeah, I know he's got a lot of antique books too. He does a lot of antique book collecting
Okay.
and selling and stuff. So it's pretty neat. Some of the stuff
Yeah,
he
that's
does
cool.
over across the pond there, over in the UK over there. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. I'm blessed to have a worldwide chat. It's been pretty amazing so far, even for like the size of my channel and stuff. Even though, but I get people all the way down to Chile to the UK to Australia and every kind of everyone between has been in my chat or been on my show, and it's been fun. It's been a fun journey I've done so far.
Yeah, that's great. Appreciate everybody, around the world tuning in.
For sure, man. I appreciate you being here, and I guess we got for the ones that are listening, I'll be back in about an hour and a half and do another show. Once I get it set up and everything, then take a break. Yeah. So for ones that are listening, I will be back in about an hour and a half, and but y'all for sure go check out Vincent's book, and I will see y'all there. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks all.